which number this is. It is weird without headsets.
Sans.
But we're going to do it a little different today.
Yeah. We're going to get weird.
Ladies and gentlemen, stick with us, okay? One big thing I do pride ourselves in is this is an unedited version of everything we do. We don't cut, we don't copy, we don't paste. We just end up, you get what you get with what we're here to discuss. So, kind of out of the gate, I had an interesting experience last night. I went to an advisor committee or a meeting at school for my daughter, who's in 7th grade, and you meet with their advisors. And during the conversation, health came up. And one of the guys at the table started asking and getting a little bit inquisitive as to what we do, how this works, what the health program is like. And the whole conversation started because he said, well, what do you do for work? But like, do you exercise a lot? And that kind of sparked the thought. But he said something pretty pertinent that I think we really need to continue to make clear to everybody we work with or who listens to anything we're saying. He said to me, he's like, well, what's your gimmick? And I said, what does that mean? And he's like, well, what's your shtick? Like, are you a vegan? Are you a pescatarian? Are you all eggs? Are you all rice? Like, what do you do different? So I said to him, none of the above, right? And I'll hand over the words to you at this point because you started this game way before I did, right? You were in the exercise nutrition world. You were practicing healthcare while I was still learning how to not practice healthcare.
Yeah.
So what's your take on that? Because we've never been gimmicky. We've never tried to tell anybody eat a certain way. We've always been leveled and foundationally based. So any comments on that?
The first thing I think about is, like, you look at the most advanced people in whatever their given domain is, and they are the ones that never get away from the basics, right? Like, Michael Jordan was really good at dribbling.
Yep.
The fundamentals of basketball. He could shoot, he could pass, he could dribble, he could just do it in such a way that, you know, he was untouchable, right? But without those foundational skills and knowledge, he wouldn't have been Michael Jordan. So when you look at people who have had long-term success in the game of health, they never not do the basics. They eat appropriately, they do something active that they like, They resistance train, they have good cardiovascular health, they probably manage their stress real well, they probably have really good relationships, which also aid in mental well-being. So it's like these cornerstone activities that they just never get away from, or they don't get away from too long to make an actual dent in their health.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to impress upon every prospective client or every current member here, is that remember what got you to this point. So if we just do more of the activities or behaviors that have yielded success, chances are they will continue to yield something very positively.
Yeah, and I think that's, root cause of happiness is being happy with yourself. And normally when you run into people, they're not, right? And that makes them irritable in other parts of their life, at work, with their kids, with their family, with their spouse, with their coworkers, whatever.
Sure.
But if you're happy with those basics, doing what you want to do, you do feel good, you do feel healthy, all of those interactions become more inviting and easier to kind of deal with.
Meaningful,
right? And when you know your value, I think that's another interesting thing.
Yeah.
I think part of my life mental struggle was knowing your value, right? So I grew up as the youngest of 5, 3 older sisters who are all doctors. So their success level instantly puts pressure because you're like, well, I got to do what they got to do. In a house with a brother who couldn't do much. So then it's like, well, am I stealing attention from somebody that needs more? So finding your value is a very interesting thing. Now, sports for me were an easy fix because I was obsessed with it. I liked the result. I liked the process. So it never, to me, was a difficult value thing for a very long period of time because I was an athlete in middle school, high school, college, a little bit beyond college. Then you lose that.
Yeah. Quickly, too.
So the defining characteristic of me in my mind for how many years was I'm the lacrosse guy. I walked around and felt like the lacrosse guy. That's kind of that was my persona. Then you lose that and you're like, well, what guy am I now? So now I'm the medicine guy. But that to me wasn't satisfying because I didn't feel like I was providing that amount of value to the customers, right? But now I got to say, in this world of healthcare, every day is a fun day because I know my value. right? Like if you come stick to the Ranfone style approach to healthcare, because you started with training, you built that, you built a nutrition programming around your training, right? So truly foundationally, you started from the ground up.
Sure.
We then pack on a medical piece, which allows me to implement my value into your current structure. And I think it's the beautiful thing about this is we deliver somebody something that's not gimmicky. It is truly foundational. And the answer to his question was, if you came and asked anybody in our gym if we've ever told them, don't eat meat, don't eat this veggie, don't eat this, nobody will ever say that.
Correct.
And I think that's a pretty cool thing to have established.
I think a lot of it is because we cut through some of the noise in the industry, both on the fitness side and the medical side.
Right.
Of let's just use a garden variety nutrition thing like intermittent fasting. It is fantastic, but there's no real magic within intermittent fasting.
Right.
It is a matter of calorie reduction. And therefore, people get this tremendous benefit of losing weight, regulating blood sugar, maybe helping their stress or cortisol response,
Right.
stuff like that. But it's just reducing calories. And studies show now that it's like there's very little difference, at least of significance, of just eating less and using intermittent fasting to
Right.
eat less. So
Right.
it's like that's the category and that's the label that people want to just ascribe to as being the magic elixir of their health. But it's just you're eating less and therefore you get healthier.
Yeah, and it's almost like the gimmicks of, so I got a text yesterday from one of my clients, and he was like, what do you think about melatonin for decreasing macular degeneration? So the back of your eyeball, the video screen essentially, there's an area on it called your macula. And if it gets injured or starts to deteriorate, your vision doesn't get helped, right? It gets worse and worse and worse. So he sends me this thing and says, is melatonin good for macular degeneration? Because there's an article proving it is. Now, the funny thing about that is it's almost like an intermittent fasting thing. Well, the end result is better macular health, but the true process isn't melatonin helped your macula. It's melatonin helped you sleep better, which helps you regulate your sugar. Your insulin resistance goes down. You become more insulin sensitive. Your blood pressure auto-regulates. The better you sleep, the better your blood pressure. The better your blood pressure, the better your intraocular pressures.
Yeah, right.
The better your intraocular, macular, retinal pressures are, and the better your vascular health is there, the less chance you have of macular degeneration.
Right.
So like, yes, the marketing can be melatonin fixes macular degeneration. But at the end of the day, if you don't understand that progression, you can take that and run with it. Because now you've offered somebody who might be worried about their eyes this piece of advice that's not well vetted. You don't really know the science behind it. Now what's going to happen? You're going to have people taking excess melatonin to think that.
Yeah. You're right.
So the end result through, I think, balance is always better than the end result through gimmick.
Well, my buddy used to say this. He goes, knowing that you have to prescribe like aspirin is cool. Knowing why the aspirin would work and not work is better. You know what I mean? So it's not the mechanism that you should be able to identify. It's the processes that live behind.
But we're so short-sighted in the medical
It's
world.
the quick fix.
And like if you come into me, and it happens every day. Like I remember we'd be in the hospital, code alert goes off, and somebody in the ED or wherever is having a heart attack. So you run down there, you help their heart. Now you fix their heart. The rest of their hospital admission is their heart, their heart, their heart, their heart. Not one single time in any of those events, even in the light of that being tragic, whatever, you still have to approach that family and be like, fine, this human had a heart attack. And you're talking to the person too. Why? Let's not just fix the heart attack. Let's make this not happen. What is the reason? Was it sleep? Was it exercise? Was it poor nutrition? Was it diabetes? Was it high blood rate? Who knows what it was that caused this, but we need to find the root cause of what led to that symptom.
Right.
And we just never do that. So you go into that hospital, you go to your cardiologist, they make sure your heart's good. Well, great. Then you go to your lung doctor, they make sure your lungs are good. Great. So we can feed the heart, feed the lungs, but at the cost of what? Right? So we need to balance the whole picture. And I think that's one version of this that has translated out of your style of nutrition, exercise, programming, where it's foundationally based into what I do, right? Because we don't just focus on one organ system. It's everything.
Yeah.
So a couple things, we talk about women's health constantly, and that's a pride of, I think, both of ours. It's also interesting how we are somewhat projected every so often to the public as like the guy gym or the meathead gym, even though like 50% of the population in the gym are women.
Right.
And we talk about women's health constantly. So we'll keep doing that, and we can keep getting viewed as the guy gym. That's fine. But women need to know our passion really does lie in healthcare for everybody. We are not gimmicky towards guys, girls. It's everybody.
Totally.
But I think today we wanted to try to start discussing a little more on like men's health. And we've done lots of episodes, lots of conversations about women and menopause and everything. But the male body is also an important thing. I do, before we preface this, want to just try to recreate everybody's knowledge of hormones. When you're developing in the womb, your hormones will dictate what sex you might be, right? But once you're past that and you're determined to be going in the female or male direction, both sets of hormones, estrogenergic and androgenergic, so testosterone and estrogen, are both important. Both human bodies, male or female, need it, right? So we need to balance those in everybody. So I want people to stop thinking about testosterone as male and estrogen as female. It's everybody. We all have it in us. So with that being said, a little lead into some male healthcare. We have a relatively straightforward, what we call an avatar, right? It's the executive. 44 to 52 years old, senior, will use an attorney at a local law firm or some executive in a city, making 180 to 250K a year, married, 1 or 2 teenagers, located locally, suburbia America. What from your end of it or my end of it, if that person walks in and says, my goals are, what do you expect to hear from that average person? Because mostly what I hear is weight loss. How about from your end?
I think weight loss is usually used as the scapegoat of feeling like they're slipping mentally and physically. You know, because at that age, it's typically now like, are you in an arena of young men that you were once like leading the charge, especially in an executive position or a leadership position in your company, whatever, is that you start feeling like you can't produce, like your output is limited because of this internal friction of how your health is going. But you verbalize that as, I don't have the energy, I don't have the mental clarity, I know I'm gaining weight, you know, like, so all these are a side effect of these lifestyle changes that have been happening over decades, especially guys who were former athletes, which we get a lot of. And they're like, I was never this heavy. Well, you were also running, lifting, jumping, throwing, you know, all this other activity until you didn't. And then you didn't change anything else except your food got worse. Maybe you had more alcohol. Maybe you had more stress.
As a side note, I will give Mike credit. You never did the dad bod thing. I went through it. I did the dad bod thing. You luckily didn't have to go through that because you stayed active.
Yeah, for the most part.
You didn't stop.
I mean, there was a time where, I see pictures, you know, pictures pop up and I'm like, wow, I look bad. You know, like it's still relative, right?
Well, because that's that phase in life.
100%.
Now, this same guy, right? He thinks, and they all think my symptom is like, well, I'm tired and at work. But a bigger one is you get home and you're snippy. You're short with your interactions beyond the work environment, easily triggered by things that are just exhausting for your brain because your brain's metabolic function hasn't been firing on high. And really their biggest concern is that slowing down effect, like you said. Now, the interesting thing about this too is these people are always usually pretty well respected in their community, right? So we take this same guy and you're like, well, how do you do it? And he's like, well, I'm chairman of the local law board. I'm on the board of directors for the local charity. They're all really successful. They're all right where they need to be financially. They're right where they need to be in their social niche. But behind the scenes, inside, they're crumbling.
Right.
And I think that health value here is where we come into play. So the transformation that person is seeking, for instance, do we think it's purely professional? Is it purely social? Like, what is that human trying to grasp onto?
I look at it from the vantage point of trade-offs, because meaning if you're highly successful in everything, that means you have to give up something. So let's just say, maybe this is stereotypical, but to make it to the top of the board in your firm, that you've had to do weekend golf trips, that you had to work late hours, that you had to put a lot of pressure on yourself, that you had to sacrifice more than just what you thought you were doing in terms of time, but like the resources of having an enriched lifestyle, right? So that your late nights finally caught up to you after 2 decades of sacrifice. Missing kids' games, not feeling like you can go out and play with your kid, things of that nature, so that you can be uber successful in your professional setting, but at what cost? So that's where I look at it, is like, what did you trade off along the way to get the success that you have in this one highly specific area of your life that meant that you couldn't be highly successful in other parts? So I try to give them like the understanding that it's completely understandable why you're in the situation you're in. It's not your fault. Like, you decided to go all in, and like you look at a professional athlete who's, nearing the end of his career, he's got to do everything in his power to be at the top of his game. And we like at 30 in the NFL, you're old, right? So you're clinging to dear life for that status, those abilities, and you're willing to do whatever it takes to stay there. And there's really no difference, except it's on a little longer timeline, but the past is going to catch up to you. You're going to choke on that exhaust that you've accumulated over the decades, no matter what. Your body does keep the score. You can't shortchange it. You can't biohack it.
I think you need to harp on that, truly. So your body always keeps score. To the point where when you come in for an evaluation with us, we know your score, right? So your ability to handle your metabolism and your physiology while you're also trying to exert dominance over your outside environment in whatever professional capacity that is impossible. You can't do that on your own. So these people over time, like you said, they choose one thing to be super high functioning at, but they let another decline.
And it's usually disproportional.
But I have a question for you. You graduated college, got a pretty good job at Yale, and you were going to be their trainer and everything. You swam against the stream, against everybody's odds. You built a business. You succeeded in an arena where it's impossible to succeed, right? Like, people open gyms like this every day, and they all flop because they try to do something they can't really fulfill on, and that's okay. You figured out how to do that. Family, kids, everything. So how did you manage to not dump all of your eggs in one basket? Like, the solve for that, right? Because if I want to get advice from somebody, I want somebody who can give me advice and be like, hey, I did it this way. I'm not telling you to do it this exact way, but here's how I did it. If you can take a portion of that and use it to your lifestyle, awesome. But what was your ability to handle that scenario? Because you're right in that avatar, but you have good balance.
Well, yeah, but I didn't always. And I think this is where I understand the mindset and that particular type of person who wants it all and doesn't understand why, like, their body is failing them, or they feel some cognitive dissonance in what they're doing, and they know whether they have an actual scoreboard, subjectively they're starting to feel that. So like, let's just say like your insulin resistance has been going down over decades, and it's not until you're 47 where you're like, man, I can't even think. I can't hold my concentration. I can't whatever. So when I was, I think 38, I was like, traveling. I had the gym business, brick and mortar. I had a consulting business, and I had an education business. I was flying all over the place. I was living out of hotels. I was giving up my weekends. I was giving up my family life. And it was one particular moment where I took a red eye home on a Monday morning, drove home, got my son, brought him to school, and then went right to work. And I just sat down and I was like, what the F what am I doing this for?
Right.
So I still have it in my phone. I had a whiteboard in my office at the time. And I said, what are the things I say mean the most to me? I say my family, my business, and my health. And then I looked at that and I just realized that I was not living in congruency to what I said I wanted to be most valuable to me. So then I went through the process of like, well, what is not what are the behaviors that I'm engaged with that aren't aligned with those three things?
Yeah.
And then it became, well, I don't know exactly what to do it better, but I know what things are keeping me.
Yeah.
And I say this all the time. I don't need you to slam on the gas. I need you to take your foot off the brake.
Right,
so
right,
what are the things that are making it really hard? So it was clear. Alcohol.
Yeah.
The extensive travel.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that if you're going to fly through different time zones multiple times a month, that you're going to have any semblance of normal sleep patterns,
you can't.
eating well, a good exercise routine. So I knew those constraints, if I removed those, I now have optionality to bring in and replace bad things with good things.
Yeah.
So it was really, now I'm trading off the things that I know aren't moving me forward to things that should be helpful.
Yeah.
And I went through an extensive period of just like, what are the things that are where my time goes? Why do I feel time poor? I was making good money. I looked great on Instagram.
Yeah.
But why am I so time poor? And why do I feel like I'm not being a good dad, a good husband,
Right.
good business owner
Yeah.
at that point? Because I wasn't present.
Yeah.
So what are the things that are keeping me from actually being in the moment, being present, being active? Were these things.
Yeah.
Alcohol, football, TV, like
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
shit
yeah,
that
yeah.
it didn't matter.
Yeah.
If that's what I said matters to me, like it didn't help
Now,
those items.
What's pretty neat about your journey, right, is you were resilient through all of that. What's the one thing that you did consistently through all of that, right? And that goes back to my dad bod comment. Like, no matter what state of world you were in, Mike's in Korea, Ranfone's in Mexico teaching, like wherever the hell you were, we knew you were doing one thing every single time you were there, and that was
Training.
training.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah.
We didn't rehearse that answer, but you knew the answer.
Yeah.
So like your foundation by default will be resilient. Like you had a muscle structure, a bone structure, a metabolic function, that all of that shit was stressful, but it still allowed you to like assess,
Compete.
step back, and realize I need to change these other levers. Because what happens to the guy we just talked about? $250K a year, not feeling that great about his balance. You start this tumble. But what's the one thing every adult male grabs onto instead of training is, well, I'm getting paid. It's that paycheck. I'm willing to die for the paycheck. Essentially, that's what it comes down to. But you can try to die for a paycheck. But if you can't fight to keep that paycheck, you're in a losing battle. And the only way you maintain that ability to do that is what you said. No matter where you were, you trained.
A good framework that I often think about, and I don't think I was in tune with it back then, but I was trying to see it from the eyes of my kids. Like what kind of example am I setting?
Yeah.
What do my kids want a wealthier dad or a healthier dad?
Yeah.
Like, are they going to care about my bank account, or are they going to care that I can go out and throw the football with them?
Yeah.
And I'm going to take them to practice, and I'm going to run around at the park with them. And I'm going to do all these things that are going to, hopefully, that will be my inheritance to them.
Yep.
Is that how I showed up for them? Was I consistent? Was I reliable? Was I dependable as a father, as a husband, so that they got the best aspect of me, not just a bank account at the end of my life?
And I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Like there is nothing better than being out in an arena where there's a bunch of parents, right? Like last night at the advisory meeting thing. It's me and a bunch of parents, and I know this sounds fucking meathead, whatever it is, but at the end of the day, I'm stronger than most of the people there. And I think that's a pretty cool thing to be able to have your kid be like, oh, my dad's fucking strong. My mom's strong.
The jack dad.
They like that.
The fit mom. Like,
because
totally.
what you just said is your kids never run around and like, my dad fixed 3 cars today, or my dad, like, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But if you could jump off a 10-foot block and land on your feet, your kid will be bragging about that all day. I mean, truly.
Yeah.
Like Bronco, once I caught him being like, my dad could shoot a lacrosse ball pretty hard. Like, it was awesome for my ego. It felt great. But he didn't realize like I just started a business. We just like got a car, like crazy shit in my world that was so like, wow, I made it. All he cared about was I could shoot a lacrosse ball, which is pretty straightforward. So that guy with that kind of tumbleweed approach to like falling in on themselves, training and exercise, right? You offer that guy some backfill, some foundational strength, some muscular health, their entire world changes.
I think that's the funny thing about training, and maybe that's, I'm biased in this vantage point, but like it is a hallmark habit.
Yep.
Meaning like when you start to implement something like training, you got to get up at 5 a.m. to get to the gym, you're probably not watching Monday Night Football.
Right.
You're probably not having that last drink at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So all these other things start to shift in your favor. And that's where true momentum is built.
Yeah.
By saying, I'm going to show up at 5 a.m. 3 times a week, you start to be a little bit more deliberate with all these peripheral aspects of your life. And those are also very meaningful and high leverage activities. Your nutrition gets better. You stop drinking. You go to bed earlier. You manage your stress better. Like all these things start to become way more congruent.
I think you realize the ultimate like right and wrong in a gym. And I don't know how to say it. Like morals play in, opinions play into like, was that right or was that wrong? Right? Like politically, everybody debates right or wrong. I don't know. Was it good or bad? Who knows? Based on this. But at the end of the day, there's no wrong. There is zero wrong in trying to promote people to exercise, to move. Somebody said like, oh, you fat shame. I don't. I could care less how big you are. I say this to all my clients. And it sounds like harsh truth, but if you die, I don't die with you. So really, it's about you. I'm here to help you, right? But the whole obesity thing, like you can't just watch that happen. Like just like a drug addict on the street, you want to go up to them and be like, stop. Or just like somebody gambling their entire life away, you want to walk in the casino and be like, stop, because those casinos are going to exist. Those drug dealers are going to exist. Every distraction will exist. But how well can you build your foundation?
Right.
Now, here's a pretty cool avatar of our next kind of adult male we might interact with. So that 45 to 55, let's push them to 60 even. This is a good one. General contractor running their own business all day. We see these constantly, right? Making plenty of money. Plenty. Their day is fine. They're not making $20 million a year, but they're not worried about putting food on their table. Married, grown kids, kind of out of the house. Locally, graduated high school. Their goal, wanted to drop 25 or so pounds, right? Blood pressure's out of control, cholesterol. Still feels like they have the stamina to keep up with their younger guys on the job sites and with his wife on weekends, but starting to feel like, it's getting a little tiring. So this kind of human rolls into our office, right? Very similar to the last one in terms of success in the financial world and made it, but now just feeling a little bit like they can't keep up with their health on the back end. This is the help everybody guy, right?
Yeah.
I get a call. He's there at midnight. He's there for you at whatever, but he's crumbling. How do we approach a guy like that?
It's the classic like caregiver syndrome.
Yep.
That's what I usually refer to it as, I got to take care of everyone.
Yep.
And I will do so by sacrificing my own self-care.
Yeah.
And the paradox is that if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else.
Right.
So if you are selfish, if that's the term that you want to use, and treat yourself better, you can not only provide better care, but you can provide better care for longer.
Right.
And that's the real like mindset shift that people have to get over and internalize. And then all of a sudden they can see that they're like, you can't pour from your own cup when it's empty.
Yeah.
So you got to fill your own cup up. Right. And that's something that's like, that's the message that we have to convey to that person.
And we see it all the time.
Yeah. Moms, dads.
But I also wonder sometimes, is it like if I go look in the mirror and I don't see what I like, if I distract myself by being like, no, I'm going to go take care of the kids right now, I've eliminated my assessment of myself. I've turned my attention to helping somebody else fix somebody else's problems. Almost like in relationships. Most people that enter really broken, toxic relationships are because they are broken and really toxic.
Yeah.
And it is a projection. So these people, they can't really handle themselves. They can't really tell themselves to do something. So it's much easier to go caregive by helping somebody else. But if your caregiver is crumbling to the ground, we're back to hospital medicine, right? Like terrible, unhealthy humans trying to tell other people to be healthy.
Yeah.
So this builder guy who wants to caretake, who wants to take care of other people. Now they're in construction. If they're laying houses and laying foundations, they're never going to just build a house on a pile of mud. They're going to put a cement foundation. They have to, right? So why do they not see that in themselves? Like, why are they not like, well, I'm the foundation of this business. If I am not perfectly put together, the rest of my business, the rest of my life doesn't work. Why do they think they can keep telling the houses next door to fix their foundations, but not really take care of their own? What do you think the psyche behind that is?
It's a little bit of the justification of dealing with yourself, you know, and maybe I think you alluded to it earlier. It's a lot harder to face your own demons than to help someone else, you know, with theirs.
Yeah.
And the path of least resistance, and that's like almost like a biological driver of us is like path of least resistance. I'm more likely to be able to offer you suggestions, advice, because then I'm abdicating the responsibility to take care of myself. And maybe that person doesn't have strong leadership in their own life,
right,
to then go confidently ask someone else. Because don't forget, like, these guys might feel as though they're like the alphas, and that is a chink in their armor when they need help.
Yeah.
And they have to go ask, or they just don't have that resource available to them.
Right.
And that's why, like, I think part of what we do is offer some semblance of mentorship and guidance and coaching from a level where we're like, we'll take care of you.
Yeah.
Like, you're good with us. Right.
And
I think it's a unique value proposition in and of itself.
Yeah. I mean, this sounds like it's a little biblical, whatever. I'm not making this religious at all, but it's an interesting thing. Like, you teach a man how to fish and you feed him forever.
Yeah.
Right. We don't hand fish to anybody. Like, you're not walking in here and just giving something. You have to really earn it and you have to put in that effort. But I think the coolest part of this gym is if we truly do our job right, we could empower people to learn so much about their own health and their own fitness that it doesn't become this mysterious obstacle to encounter. So that person that's like, well, I can't fucking control myself, so I'm gonna try to deal with the other people around me. But if you learn how to control yourself, if you are empowered, if you're given the information, which is a rare thing now, right? Like, people sit in my office and they're just like, I didn't know that. It's like, well, yeah, you shouldn't. The medical world should have told you about this. That's a whole nother discussion. But the more information you give them, the more empowered they feel to make good decisions, right? Some people don't even know, oh, if I eat a steak, that has carbs in it or fat. Like, they don't really know the composition of these things to make the right decision. But after a couple hours a year in our classroom, we could call it, I guess, they then make decisions. Like, somebody recently was like, oh, I switched from eating chicken thighs all the time to chicken breast because I cut a little bit of my fat out there so I can have a little bit of Parmesan and cheese on my dinner because I really like that. No problem. That's beautiful. Perfect. But the ability to make that decision is amazing to me. And it's enlightening because if you think about the exercise, fitness, medical world, the more mysterious we keep it, the easier it is to control the people using it. So like the Edge, these big box gyms, not the Edge in particular, but all of them, whatever the hell gym you want to know. Like, you pay, you go there, there's a bunch of machines. You might as well hand people the keys to the auto body shop, put a broken car in the back and be like, here,
fix it.
After the next 20 years, you'll probably figure out what tools in here and pieces to use to fix the car in the back, right? Like, if you actually conceptually think about a box gym, it's an insane money stealing, money grab, because you're taking people that are unhealthy, so they clearly already don't know what to do. They're trying to seek health, and then you're offering them, oh, here's access to a big room with a bunch of weights, right? Because their individual training in those styles is a little different. I think the empowerment thing is the biggest, right? And that's what we work on here. You
100%.
Teach people how to exercise. You teach people how to eat. I teach people how to interact with their metabolism. And you put that together and you get an empowered individual who's making the right decisions.
Well, informed decision making is the backbone of long-term success. And to your point, where whether it be how medical advice is given now, or even people getting information online about fitness and nutrition, it's all surrounded in mystery and mystique and like just take this. So there's really no understanding of the information they need to make an informed decision, where we are as transparent about this. Like, I'm not making the decision for you.
Right.
You can have pizza or chicken. Like, I can't make that decision. But what I can teach you is the cost or benefit of your choice. And then it's solely up to you to do that. And I believe that we've provided enough of the context as well as the background information so that they can feel empowered to make the right decision based on their goals, based on their needs, and based on what they want to live.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge point. Back to Full Swing, our non-gimmicky approach.
Exactly.
Right? Because if you empower somebody to have the tools to make the right decision, you don't have to sell them a gimmick.
Yeah.
Right? If I tell you only eat A, B, and C, I am in control of what you're doing, and like, great, I have the keys to your car, but like, I don't know, that's going to break. That ain't going to work because you can't, it just doesn't work like that. That's micromanaging of somebody.
How many guys like this that we just talked about come in and say, yeah, I knew I had to do something, so I read a book on keto.
Yeah.
And now my doctor says I need a statin. Or like now they have another problem based on the decision because they didn't have enough information to make a good decision, but they went with it.
Yeah.
Because they want to commit to something. They just don't, they're at the disadvantage of like industry arbitrage.
Yeah.
They just don't know what to do.
Yeah. And the other the cool thing is you say this a lot, like if you're young or at any age and you can invest in education for something you like to do, right? Like if I invest in a program to learn more about metabolic health, if you invest in an educational program about exercise science, about muscle building, about things like this, we empower ourselves to deliver a better message to the people.
Correct.
All right. If we can do what you say they are essentially paying us for what they think is a service that's providing them with medical care, exercise, nutrition. But really, I think behind the scenes, the true base of what we're doing, it's a classroom. You're paying us to teach you how to live a healthy life behind the scenes so that you can make the decisions you want, right? It's like as if you were 25 years old, you had already gone through life once. So you know all the lessons that an 85, 90-year-old, 100-year-old know. And you got given at 25 years old a $35 million check, right? That person who's been through life, knows the risks, knows the benefits, with that $35 million will not go broke. Because they'll know I'm going to do a 401k, I'm going to set up my kid's retirement. By the time I'm 60, maybe this will end up being worth $100 million. Like, they can stack their money because they know the future. They are empowered because they've already learned.
Well,
if we can empower our users to experience metabolic health, but they have the ability to control that, I mean, I think you've hit nirvana in terms of healthcare, right? Because the individual will make the right choice.
Correct.
And I think that's where we lie in terms of our education process. We're not trying to micromanage your health. I have no interest in you calling me every day and asking me what to eat. What I have interest in is in the 5, 6, 8 hours a year we spend together. I can empower you with enough education that you out in the wild will choose the right piece of meat or choose the right veggie. Now, another avatar we run into a ton, and this is actually very classic. 60-plus-year-old male, recently retired, corporate VP, now doing a little consulting because nobody can fully retire once you get a taste of that amount of money. Net worth $3 to $5 million. Household income still 200 plus. So like they don't really need more money. They've made it in the financial end. Married for years, retired. Now they want to keep their golf game sharp. They're starting to have issues with getting erections. Their ED's kicking in. Sexual health is fluttering. The wife and them aren't getting along great because of that. Who knows whose drive is bigger? And he wants to travel, hang out with the grandkids. A philanthropist, but now can't really get out there and expose himself to that world because he's just not feeling good enough. Where do we approach that adult male?
You hit the nail right on the head. It's going to be a matter of drive. And that probably you can speak on this, just the hormonal aspect of as you age, your testosterone goes down, right? Like let's say 35 is kind of that line of demarcation where we start to see a precipitous drop in
Yep.
testosterone. And testosterone does a lot of things. I mean, most people just think of it as muscle building.
Everything.
It's everything. But like the androgen receptors in your brain aren't being stimulated. Your drive goes down, your mental clarity, your focus. So I would really want to know what that guy's blood work looks like, because certainly lifestyle is a huge thing, but we can't outrun what is going on biologically.
No.
But what we can do is support that as much as we can with the exercise and training and nutrition, so that he gets a amplification of whatever intervention you think is best for that individual. And also making sure that we are doing so where he's not offsetting his life. Like when you're in your 60s and maybe early 70s, your life is completely different. Like you don't have the responsibilities. You're not under that tremendous amount of pressure. So maybe that drive goes away because you're not in a pressure cooker 40 hours a week trying to make a big deal or do, whatever it is that your profession demanded of you. So now you're like, well, now what?
Right.
Because that was your identity. Like that was your purpose.
Yeah.
So funneling that into something that is more tangible for that individual becomes of utmost importance, so that he sees it as that is kind of the finish line for right now. Right. And then making sure that he can do all the things that he wants to do, see his grandkids, play golf effectively, enjoy whatever life that he wants. And this become more of a support system or a stimulation of that than actually like offsetting his whole life.
Yeah. And now I've seen two versions of those people walk in. And it'd be interesting to see and talk to their employees of the companies they used to work for. One walks in and is like, all right, here are the keys to the car. Just fucking drive it. Tell me what I got to do. I just need you to blueprint me out, and they follow those rules. The other one comes in with a more discerning, like, what do you think about, how would you approach a more questioning, because they've made it in their career. They are the pinnacle of where they thought they could get, which then in their mind translates across all arenas, right? I know I am smarter than most people. Great. But in medicine, in kind of the lanes you're not in, you're really never smart, right? Like I might be a doctor, but if you told me to go change a traffic light, I can't fucking figure that out.
Right.
But in our society, we might think of me as more valuable than the traffic light, even though if the $20 an hour didn't fix the traffic light, you'd have 50 accidents and probably $10 million in healthcare damage. We still value the end result better, which whatever, hopefully society will wake up one day. So there's those two avatars even on this guy, right? And I think you can see a lot of insight into their personality, because if they are here's the keys, they probably spent their whole life surrounding themselves with smarter people who have brought them where they are, and they're grateful for that. And they realize the ability to pay or invest in somebody else's brain to help them.
Yeah, that's their greatest
right?
leverage.
Like as a doctor, I could have easily had the ego that most doctors have and been like, fuck, I'll start a medical practice. I'll open a gym too, because like I can fucking figure that out on the side. But I have no idea what I'm doing with the gym. So I'm like, hey, Mike, you run a gym for 20 fucking years. What do you say we do this together, right? That's that person. And then the other person probably spent their whole life highly micromanaging everything, not trusting anyone around there, never putting someone on their side who might be smarter than them, challenge their brain. And you can almost see it, right? And those are two very different people to take care of, but they're present in everyday life. To both of those people, though, the answer is sit back, assess, and allow the professional in your arena now to guide you, right? And empower yourself by education and empower yourself. But that age group is a lot of men, and they're stuck. They're also stuck retired, so they don't really have the identity of the business anymore.
Yeah.
They still have the identity of the money. They were living the big spend life, but now they got to budget down a little bit, because like you're not having the same 3 to 5 mil a year income. You're only on a smaller budget, but they still want to live that life. And I see that translating a lot into drinking. And that's like the lunch dates, the afternoon. I get together with my guy friends. We meet for lunch down in New Haven, or, that's local, but anywhere. And those groups of people get unhealthy really quick, and they're really successful people. We mentioned alcohol and its involvement in health. Why do you think those people associate alcohol with like the success and having lunch and having a beer and having a drink. Why is alcohol so pervasive in adult men having to do business? Like, I don't fucking understand it. We do business every day over maybe some caffeinated beverages, a water, maybe a little nicotine, right? Why is booze the number one factor for like that age group to sit around a table and talk? I don't really get it.
Part of it's probably just like the cultural aspects. Like alcohol was always a sign of like you made it, and everything was celebrated.
Right.
So a big deal went through, a business meeting, a luncheon, whatever. And I think because in their prime, let's say 30 years ago, that was just status quo.
Yeah.
Like that was fine. And now you can look at the trends. Like alcohol is the lowest alcohol consumption in the history of America is right now in a certain age population.
Yeah, it's gone down.
So, which is fantastic.
Amazing.
But those remnants are still there in like our generation and above,
Right.
where it was always associated with socialization, fun, celebratory acts.
Yeah.
So, and the problem is that when you don't have the structure of like a 9 to 5 or work or whatever else, it becomes more accessible.
Yeah.
And it could be as somewhat of like, I've earned this. Like
Yeah.
I've earned
It's
sitting
so
back,
weird. Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, oh, sure,
Right.
but it doesn't benefit you in the long run.
Yeah, it's such a hard, I guess I used to do it all the time. Like if we did something good, be like, oh, let's have a drink. Or
Yeah.
Like I
Totally.
can't even imagine right now doing that because I see the detriments of it on a daily basis, right? It was like kind of when you're on trauma call and somebody's like, you should get a motorcycle. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
I've had more brains in my hand for motorcycle riders that I don't care. I want to live my life as I do. And let me tell you, every single one, once their brains are fucking all over the table, their family's upset. Nobody knows why they had to ride. You know what I mean? Like the repercussions and the results of things, I think people don't actually grasp. Alcohol is such a bad substance, right? Like I said, we're never going to tell anybody, don't drink, but it's just bad.
Yeah.
Right? It's like anything else out there that can harm you. It's going to have a detrimental effect every single time you encounter it.
On everything too.
On everything.
So
So hot topic. Well, I have a question. It's an interesting question. We are now in a world of like GLP-1 use and lots of different medications, hormones now being used. Hormones have been around since any living
Organism.
animal on the planet, right? So there's hormones. They've been studied forever. Some of the more well-researched things on the planet in terms of what they might do directly. Least researched, I think, because it takes a lot of time to deal with them, and the medical community knows there's not just a quick pill fix, so it's not a big moneymaker. So they kind of dropped it. But hormones have been around forever. GLP-1s have been around forever, treating diabetics and helping with diabetic health, but for a long, 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 long time. Why do you think now, when used in the right way, those two things are amazing? But why do you think now there's such a hard sell for people to truly realize that the use of those types of things can actually be really beneficial to people? Because those are really well studied. Now, this will be a little controversial, this next statement, and it's okay. But those are studied forever, and we still question their use. Yet, COVID happened, potential for lots of death. An mRNA vaccine came out that was kind of well studied, but really never used in this arena. And it was like, no problem, we're going to fucking use it constantly. It's a true fear of death marketing, right? Because GLP-1s and hormones will have a significant benefit profile attached to them. And if you're ever using them in your mind, if you do use it with the right patients, the risk never outweighs the benefit, ever.
yeah.
There's never a time. So why were we so easily able to convince a group of people, everybody on the planet, to stay in a house and get a shot that we know really nothing about? Yet the death rates from obesity and aging, the death rate from aging is 100%. You will die from chronologic age. So how are we not trying to save that, an inevitable death for everybody, right? We painted that picture with COVID, inevitable death for everybody, and everybody willingly took a shot we don't know much about. But inevitable death for everybody on the planet, and we don't really want to fight against that with stuff we already have in our body being hormones or the use of medicine. We have good research. I don't understand it.
Part of it's just the narrative that you spoke about. It's like you're leveraging the highest fear of death or highest fear imaginable, which is death, immediate death or looming death.
Yeah.
So it becomes a matter of threat perception,
Right.
not actual threat.
Yeah.
So the threat that you could die from X because it's happening, it's global, it's this pandemic, whatever, versus you're probably not going to live very long or you're not going to live very well.
Right.
No one wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then that's a part of the education process too. It's like your chances of dying, even with the context of COVID, was greatly increased by lifestyle factors, comorbidity, like obesity,
All
type
of it.
2, like all of it, but we never heard about that.
Yeah.
And that was just really because that's what the most of the population now looks like.
Yeah.
So let's just use this other thing to get them to do, follow the herd, so to speak.
Yeah.
Whereas if we were just talking about like, well, chances are you're probably going to live till 77, right? If you're an adult male. We can't guarantee the quality of life because we don't research that.
Yeah,
We don't talk about that. Your doctors won't tell you about your alternative approaches. So that's where I think we come in and we say, well, if you want to live to 85, riding your bike, playing with your grandkids, well, then we do have the formula for that.
And you know what's really neat too? I forgot to say this before, but like most people on this planet will define their success by how much money they accrued or when they retire and how much money they have in the bank account, whatever. In here though, I think it's like proven that statement, like money doesn't buy happiness, right? There are a lot of uber wealthy people that are just as miserable as the person like paying their bills every month, worried about every dime. Money doesn't buy you anything. Health with money will afford you a ton of freedom. I don't disagree with that. But if you are unhealthy, independent of as much money as you have, your life quality-wise sucks.
Yeah, to me, it's like, are we keenly aware of the problem you're trying to solve? Right. And in that way, it's like, well, if we can better identify the problem, we can then better prescribe a fix.
Yeah.
And we know money does solve problems. However, they're only money problems.
Yeah.
Like money doesn't necessarily make you happy, right? It doesn't make you healthy. It just fixes, like if you're in debt, you need more money, it fixes that money problem.
Right.
But it does not just spill over to these other things.
No.
It could be a great stressor, I understand that. But again, it's only fixing the money problem so that you can go deal with the next one.
Yeah, and I think the point of that is when you do get to the point of a retirement or you get to that older age where you've successfully put your eggs in the basket that you needed to for your own life to make sure you guys survive and eat and whatever, that at the end of that, you do have health because really the money doesn't matter. And if you can't walk, if you can't move, if everything hurts all the time, if you have a heart attack, if you have a stroke, it ain't worth anything.
Yeah.
So I think we're through our big question session. Yeah. What do you think, Marcus? Oh, we got 5 minutes left. What do we do? A couple questions, maybe? Have you ever donated sperm?
Nope. I guess you define that, but nope.
Have you ever successfully smooth talked your way out of getting a ticket or being arrested? Marcus, come on.
I don't think so.
He said no, but he's too handsome to never have done that. Come on. Cop walks up to your window and you take your shirt off. No tickets. No way.
None.
Like we try to have abs. Marcus has abs.
Yeah.
He's the best.
This guy's a unit.
Kicked somebody out of my wedding. Well, you can't kick out. Yeah, the wrong person. Next. Talk shit about my boss over text at work. I used to talk shit to my boss straight to their face. I would never text.
I haven't had a boss in 30 years, so.
It's amazing. Yeah, they're terrible. Spiked a watermelon with vodka. We talked about that. Have you ever binged on Netflix for the entire weekend and did not leave the house once?
No.
Had a fling during a business trip? That's a stupid question. Played with someone else's sex toy? Oh my God. That's terrible.
No. What?
Been high at work? Had sex with someone whose name I couldn't remember?
No. Marcus? Maybe.
Maybe Marcus.
A definite maybe from Marcus.
Until the next episode. So here, as a listener, if you do have inquiries, truly, please email us. You can DM us. We love topics from the audience. Like we said, I think the whole goal of this is education. We will continue to do this. It is knowledge. The more empowered we can give, the more empowerment we can give to the consumer, the better. And that's all we're trying to do here. So,
Yeah.
until next weekend.
Later.